I've seen it happen where guys are getting anxious. They see a heavy smoke condition, they start stretching, and then before you know it, we're in the wrong spot, and then we have to backtrack and kind of undo everything that we've done.
Enchanted Sky Media.
From the Enchanted Sky Studios in Prescott, Arizona, this is Code 3, the Firefighters Podcast, hosted by award-winning journalist Scott Orr. Code 3 features interviews with leading members of the fire service, discussing firefighting strategies, tactics, and other topics you need to know more about. Now, here's Scott.
That's right, and I will not let Parkinson's stop me. Thank you for joining me again here on Code 3. This is the show for and about firefighters. We're informing and entertaining members of the fire service, just like you, from coast to coast. When you arrive at a structure fire scene, the seat of the fire is sometimes pretty easy to locate. It's the calls reporting a light haze of smoke that get tricky. The fire could be in any number of places, like the wall. And if we're talking about a multi-family dwelling, it's even more confusing. If you try to anticipate and stretch a hose line, you might guess wrong and you'll waste a lot of valuable time. So it pays to find the fire first. Here to discuss how to do that is Danny Sheridan. Danny is a 33-year veteran of the FDNY, where he's a Battalion Chief. He's a member of the FDNY IM and a well-known instructor nationally. He's also a lead instructor with Mutual Aid Training Group, which works to train firefighters in Latin America. And Danny Sheridan joins me now. Welcome to Code 3.
Hi, everybody.
When you arrive at a smelled smoke call, what's your usual procedure?
The primary task of my first function is to locate the fire. And, if the fire is not obvious, vis-a-vis blowing out the windows, or we have a very good idea in a store or a taxpayer that, we know where the fire is, it's a no-brainer. Then we could start, going into operation. It's those fires where we get like a smoke condition, or we're just not really sure where it's at. And then we have to put our forces into, locating the fire. Because we really, we can't do anything until we locate the fire, right? It would be like, think about yourself going into a doctor and saying, hey, listen, I got some pain, okay? So where's the pain? What kind of pain? What are the symptoms? And it's the same with a fire. We can't just, I've seen it happen where guys are getting anxious. They see a heavy smoke condition. They start stretching, and then before you know it, we're in the wrong spot. And then we have to backtrack and kind of undo everything that we've done.
Have you seen cases where firefighters don't locate anything and they just give up even though there's still smoke, at least a light haze?
We've had a rash of top floor fires, and actually fires anywhere, where we get a kind of an odor, and then it dissipates, and then it comes back, and then after probably about 5 or 10 minutes, the firefighters start becoming like almost desensitized, and they don't smell it anymore. And there's a frustration sets in. And I'm actually quite to the contrary. I won't take up. I won't let the guys take up until I know exactly what's going on, why we were called, and I want to locate the source, right? So I'll have to say that no, anything like a real obvious smoke condition, we can't leave it. But there are instances where the odor does dissipate, and guys they'll give a signal. In our fire department, we have a signal for that. It's an odor of smoke dissipated, and guys will take up. And I think in doing that, you're really rolling the dice. You're taking some big risks. To leave and then have to come back is something that we don't want to be involved in.
So what should happen with the first attack line if there's smoke showing but no one's 100% sure where it's coming from?
So what should the guys do with the attack line? What I have them do is I say, hey guys, listen, I use this phrase, start a line. and bring it to the front of the building, or if it's let's say a multi-story building, I'll just say bring the line to the lobby and have enough hose to get me to at least to the top floor.
And so this is not charged, of course.
No, it's not charged. And I'll give you like what happened. I guess it was about a week or two ago. We had a report of a fire. It was in a 6-story fireproof multiple dwelling, and I've had some experience with these types of buildings. And I got on the scene, and the truck company was up on the 5th floor because that's where the callers were. And we had a heavy smoke condition, I would say, on the 4th, 5th, and 6th floors. The truck companies went up, and they're looking for the fire, and they can't find it. And we also see, here's a little trick. Here's what you have to do. You have to pay attention to what the dispatchers are telling you, right? So in this instance, the dispatchers, one of them just happened to say, we got reports of the elevator on fire, right? We have a report of a fire in an elevator, right? So I focus in on that. Generally, when we come to a fire and it's like in the elevator, it's usually in the lobby. For some reason, when they set these elevators off, they want to harass us with rubbish or whatever. It's generally when the elevator's in the lobby. So I had it in the back of my mind that there's a possibility that the fire might be in the elevator in the lobby. So when my second truck company got on scene, they went right to the elevator, and sure enough, they forced the elevator door, and the fire came rolling out into the hallway. But the engine company had already stretched up to the 5th floor. They had to bring the line back downstairs and charge a line and eventually put the fire out.
They had to drag it back down. How much more time would it have taken to pull a second line? Was that an option?
No, it wasn't. And I'll tell you why. Because it was in a big, huge complex. It's like a multi-building complex. And this building was set very deep into the complex. So by the time I would have had them stretch a second line, it just wasn't worth it. It would just been, as it was, I think they were stretching over 10 lengths of hose, Yeah. So it's really, really imperative that the fire is located before guys start stretching, because it's happened on occasions where guys, they want to get ahead of it and they want to be proactive and start stretching the hose line. And next thing you know, the fire is below them, or if it's in another building, and now you have to kind of retrace your steps,
Right. If they guess right, they're heroes, but they're more likely to be wrong.
Yeah, that's why, there really needs to be a coordination between not every department functions like the FDNY. I'll just, instead of using companies, I would say teams, So the search team, let's say, you should really, if you can have it, if you have let's say the ability to have an search team, it's almost like to think of it like with the military, where they have recon. Recon goes out and tries to get a sense of what's going on. Well, in any fire department, the first units on scene really are just like doing recon and size up. And there needs to be a communication with the attack team.
Well, let's divert for a second and talk about that. We did a show a few days ago where we talked about the priorities for an engine crew that's the first one in the building. Do they search, or do they drag the line to the seat of the fire? And I'm curious where you stand on that. Can a crew search effectively while they're dragging a hose, or do they have to do one or the other?
That's a really tough, I'm kind of blessed in a sense where I don't have to be put in that position because I've got resources to do both. But if I was resource constricted and I only had to pick one, I have to say that unless I was really sure of where the fire was, I wouldn't be dragging hose anywhere. I really want to know where that fire is. And I'll tell you, we had a fire a bunch of years ago. It was a simple communication error, right? We had a heavy fire. It was out the windows, right? It was out the windows in a multi-story building. And it seemed like a no-brainer. Yeah, okay, we know where the fire is, right? What had happened was the truck company went in and located the fire. And it was a really good fire. I mean, we had a victim on the fire escape that was in really bad shape. So it was a really, really good fire. And it was as simple as one officer saying to the next, he said, the fire is down the hallway to the left. But it turned out that his left was the other guy's right and vice versa. And he started bringing the hose line into the, where he thought he was going the right direction, which would be left. And it was actually, he went in a total opposite direction of the fire. And just to say, he nearly had the fire, wrapped around and almost caught those guys. And we almost had some serious line of duty that situation. The communication is really critical, and if you have the manpower, great. One team go do the search while the other guys drag the hose into the seat of the fire, but you really have to know what you're doing. You have to know where you're going before you commit to anything, because if you're wrong, like in the case of this instance, it could be fatal.
Fires inside of walls can be tough to locate. A lot of guys use thermal imaging cameras. What's the easiest way to find the source if you're looking at a large building like, say, a multifamily dwelling?
That's a great question. I actually wrote a lot about this with the thermal imaging camera, okay? Here's what's going on with the thermal imaging cameras. People today are insulating their homes like we've never seen before with this kind of spray insulation. They put the hose into the wall and they fill it up with insulation. Now, a thermal imaging camera will not read through the insulation, right? So there's only really one way. You have to go very much old school. What I say is you have to search around and put the back of your hand on the wall. If it's hot, you got to open it up. That's the only way. Or if it's in the ceiling, you have to take a hook and put your hook up and pull the ceilings and look for the fire that way, because a thermal imaging camera will not locate the fire for you. I had a fire. I was what we call this all-hands chief, or a kind of a sector or a division chief. And I got to the floor above. It was a fire in a Chinese restaurant that had a lot of ductwork. And I got to the second floor. I saw the officer, and I said, hey, how's it going up here? And he goes, all good, chief. No extension. Not that I was trying to micromanage, but I just wanted to kind of do a little double check for myself. And I took a walk to the back of the building, and as I passed one of the rooms, I got hit with a blast of heat on my right side, and I kind of diplomatically asked the officer to come over and I said, do me a favor, could you open this up? And sure enough, the fire was raging behind the walls. So he didn't pick it up with his thermal imaging camera, but my instinct told me that there was something going on there,
Does this tell you that some guys rely too heavily on the technology and not enough on thinking it through?
I'm afraid of that this may be what's happening. I don't know firsthand, because I haven't really been, I've been a chief now for 11 years, and I spent a good portion of my time as a captain on an engine company, so I haven't really dealt. I have to be honest with you, I'm not really good when it comes to the thermal imaging camera. So my experience with the TIC is very, very limited. I have to go with the way I was taught. I was taught, when you're doing overhaul or even looking for the fire, that old school, you feel the walls. You put your hand right up against the wall, and if it feels hot, you got to take a look. You got to open it up. The TIC, I don't think will do that. I just don't think you have that same true reading. You have to really feel it. You have to get in there and open things up to really find the fire.
Sometimes technology is not the best way to do stuff. The old way works better.
I have to agree. I just I get very nervous when, like I said, I've had a few instances now where I've gotten reports from people telling me that there's no extension, there's no fire, and and the next thing you know, fire.
There it is.
Yeah, fire breaks out of a wall or a light fixture or something. I would be very, very careful using totally on technology. I would still make a good effort to open up and just take a good look. Because here's the thing with searching for fire, right? You'll know by the odor, right? There's certain odors that are just very distinctive, like that. And that odor of like wood burning in a concealed space, there's really no other odor like it. I mean, we get odors, for electrical fires or rubbish fires, they get like a paper smell or a very metallic smell or electrical smell, like the wires burning. But that smell where, where the fire is like kind of cooking in the walls or in the ceilings is very distinct. And if you have that smell, you can't leave. You have to find the source of it, you know. There's just no way around it.
All right, we'll leave it there. Danny Sheridan, thanks for being on Code 3 today.
You got it. Take care.
And we put some more information about locating the fire first on our website at code3podcast.com/source. Check it out. Well, on this show, we talked about finding hidden fires before you take action. What tips do you have? And have you ever been in a situation where the fire wasn't where you thought it was? What happened? Let me know. Email me, scott@code3podcast.com. I'll read some comments on a future show. All right, that's it. That's all for this edition of Code 3. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next time with more, and I hope you'll join me. I'm Scott Orr, and until then, stay safe.
Code 3 is a production of Enchanted Sky Media. To contact us, get more information on today's topic, or subscribe to the podcast, go to code3podcast.com.